Today is the first day of summer, this longest of days of the year. And it's a beautiful day here in this sunny southern city that I live. And I wanted to do a little bit of night work because I think it seems most appropriate for this text. And it comes from Analog 20 of the Gospel of Philip. I'm not going to read the whole thing because some of it really doesn't seem to apply. And like so many of these texts, the compilation or the ordering of the particular analogs sometimes is a little erratic. And that is that they don't necessarily go one to another, sentence to sentence in a narrative fashion. They're really not that way. So this is not from a narrative, but from a concise thought. And I want to bring it to you in hopes that you will meditate on it and that you will bring your concentrations to bear. Once, one of his students asked the master concerning an issue involving this world. He replied, "Ask your mother. She will give you something coming from other worlds." Ask your mother. And what could that possibly mean, coming from Yeshua at this particular time? And to me, what it means is that the major issue of Yeshua and what he seemed to want to reconstruct or bring back into life was the first temple. That seemed to be his mission. It seems to be what John was discussing in Revelations, the restoration of the first temple. And what could that possibly mean? Well, one of the things that it means is that wisdom was excised from the first temple by King Josiah in the 500s BC. King Josiah came in with his scribes, his lawyers, and decided that he was going to reform the first temple. And what he did was he removed wisdom, Asherah, from the temple. So there was no longer a tree of life in the temple, no longer a grove, no longer a pole for Asherah, a pole, of course, being the tree. And so Asherah was excised from the temple tradition and replaced by the Deuteronomic code. So it would be like today, a series of hedge fund managers taking over the government of the United States. How funny would that be? Or how possible? That these crafty hedge fund managers, these smartest of wise guys, could ascertain something, such in the same way that the priests of the first temple decided they needed a second temple. And they instituted the law, the Deuteronomic code. And so wisdom was gone. And you can see wisdom. Look at Proverbs 8 and Proverbs 3, and you can find wisdom. And you can find Asherah, the female wisdom goddess, if you want. I don't know how to use the words for it yet, because it's part of a meditation. Do you want to call Asherah a goddess or a consort? A companion? A lover? What would you say? But it's a tragedy that the feminine energy, the feminine mystery, was excised, was banished, never to return to the temple. And you have to think about that in the light of the legacy that we suffer from today, where the feminine has been thwarted to a degree where it now is in an intensely reactive reality where it really is untethered and doesn't seem to have the gravitas that it needs to assert itself in a way that's healthy and in coordination and in context and in calling with the divine hierarchy. So that's the meditation I want to bring to you today, to reconsider the feminine in the context of the first temple. There are many references to Asherah in the Old Testament. I think 30, maybe a little more. But they're kind of covered up and glossed over, and it's hard to see them, but they're there. And so what I'm suggesting is that this is an opportunity with the discovery of these texts from Naj Hammadi, the Gospel of Philip, and others, to have a chance to re-examine why these events occurred and what we need to do to rectify the errors that were made, to re-establish some of these traditions in ways that are healthy and good for us all, and that enhance the participation of the divine hierarchy in the events of humankind. That's what I want. And this text, I'll read it again. Once, when one of his students asked the master concerning an issue involving this world, he replied, "Ask your mother. She will give you something from other worlds." Something from other worlds. So one of the things that you cannot help but take away from this is that Asherah, our mother, was directly involved in the creation of worlds, the creation of the cosmos. And you can read it in Proverbs 8. I really urge you to go read that, because it is about wisdom skipping over the land. And you could say skipping over the cosmos. Skipping over the cosmos. Bringing life as the bearer of life to other worlds. And from those other worlds, we can see the work that was done by Asherah. So I'm going to use Asherah. It's a Canaanite word, I think. But it works because it's a little awkward. It works because it's nearly not that familiar. And that's what takes us out of our comfort zone in these meditations, is to begin to have the freedom and the courage to examine things that are not quite so familiar. That's why these Gospels are so powerful, because you don't know the end. I mean, if you go and read the stories from the New Testament, everybody knows how they end. Everybody knows the story. There's no surprises. And so it tends to get a little stale sometimes, because there's no new life in that. This is new life. This is new stuff. And as I discussed with Mary Magdalene in my last episode, Mary Magdalene represents something very new, a new species, and her reflection on her own acquisition of knowledge is astounding as she recounts what it is that she learned from Yeshua. And one of the things that's also clear in that, and is clear from this text, that there is secret knowledge, that there is knowledge that comes to us in ways that we don't understand. So there's a knowledge that comes from your mother. Yeshua says, ask your mother. She has a secret teaching for us. She can tell us of other worlds. And that is an astounding thing to consider. That Asherah, the consort of Yeshua, of El, if you were, can tell us of other worlds. Now therein is something that I find incredibly beautiful, and a perfect thing on this longest day's night. I'm quite enjoying the text, and there's so much more to discuss and to learn about through our meditations, and to take the time to concentrate. And in that concentration and effort, and there is effort, a lot of effort and risk, there is an unveiling of the nature of the cosmos. Because the unveiling of the cosmos before us is violent, and it's filled with risk and danger and beauty on every level. And it's important that we embrace all of those things, that we understand the risk. And that's what Yeshua is saying to us in a certain way, because his response has a little bit of an edge to it. Ask your mother. You know, there's a kind of a little bite to that I find intriguing, that you don't usually see from texts involving Yeshua and what he has to say. This one's a little different, and I find that to be kind of unique and interesting, and making it even more worthy for study and meditation, just as though the moneylenders in the temple got a little bit of a sharpness. So it's definitely there, and it's part of our reality that we should be able to withstand the little bit of peak that comes from the cosmos in ways that are very dramatic and bring to us a kind of poetry of violence and colliding worlds. So I hope you will have a look at Analog 20 of the Gospel of Philip, and that you will give it a thought. Amen.